Hello, our truth warriors, and welcome back to the Atlantic Underground. With a major piss take in enforced mandates in the UK, we need to know where we stand in regards to required compliance, and especially when it comes from outright government overreach. I'm glad we're seeing a pushback. It means you're waking up out there. But without clear guidance on what we can and can't do, the law will still see this as an opportunity. So let's not give them the satisfaction. Today's returning guest understands the power of law and what it really has over us. So it's great to have back with me Sovereign Pete. Hello, mate. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Nice to be back.
Great. And we always have a good conversation about cars before we get going because me and him are just petrol
Love
heads.
motors.
It's all
Yeah, we are. We are.
The first thing we probably need to touch on for people to understand, which is the foundation of everything, is the difference between what is lawful and what is legal. Can you please explain to us what the difference is between these?
Yes, that's right. I mean, a lot of people do make the mistake of conflating the two and think they're interchangeable, which they're not. So if we define law, the simplest way to define law is one of the things is it is beyond man's reach. Okay. So law is something man cannot change. So it's beyond man's reach. And the thing with the law is it can't be changed and it can't be amended. Now, for the law to be broken means there shall be a victim. It has to be a victim. So if someone says you've broken the law, give me the name of the victim. If there is no victim, then no law has been broken and they can't touch you. You can't be arrested or anything like that. That's very simple how law works. Now, what you've got is law within contract. This is slightly different. And this is how the government operates. They trick you. They actually operate a system which is referred to as colour of law. Now, colour of law means it's not law. And they do tell you this, and they use language like acts and statutes. And you go, why is it called an act? That's because it's acting as law, which means it isn't law. And statute actually comes from statue, like a statue of a god or a deity. It comes from ancient pagan religion, where it was designed to trick worshippers to believe in a statue, which was a deity, and then the pagans could control the religious followers. Today, it's called statute. And basically what it means is the government has invented it out of thin air, but you worship it as a law, therefore you're bound by it. That's what a statute means. So you've got acts and statutes. So that's colour of law, and you can have law within contract. That would be a lawful contract. Now, a lawful contract would be based on names and it would be based on autographs. So let's say me and you, we entered into a contract. We would not sign it with a signature, but we would sign it with an autograph. I think we need to just touch briefly on what the difference is between an autograph and a signature.
Yeah.
So an autograph, the word autograph actually means authority, autonomy, and then graph means script. So it means for you to write your authority onto the document itself. And that represents your name. So you're putting your authority on that document. That's an autograph. A signature basically means you're signing on behalf of something else, always. So whenever you use a signature, that's not you signing it under your authority. What you're doing is you're signing on behalf of someone else's authority 100% of the time. And I'll give you an example of how that works. Let's say, you know, your mother and father, whatever, they die, there's a will. You will be the executor of the estate. Okay, so the executor means you have the authority to sign on behalf of a dead person or a dead entity. Therefore, you will be signing, but you will be signing under their authority, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. I'll give you another example. If you work for a corporation and you are given a title, say you work for Tesla. Tesla was the corporation created by Elon Musk. He has the authority. If you work for him, he'll give you a legal title, sales manager. Therefore, if you sign documents within Tesla, you're signing on behalf of Elon Musk and using his authority. And he's granted you permission to use his authority to sign on his behalf. Mm-hmm. So now we understand what's going on. That's the difference between an autograph and a signature. Now, what legal means, this is so simple, everybody. Legal simply means contract. So whenever you hear the word legal, the person using that word legal upon you is saying that we are in contract, and you, if you've done something illegal, it means you've breached a condition within the contract. And that's what the policeman is always talking to you about. He says you've done something illegal. So he's just told you that you've entered into contract, you've agreed to the contract, you've breached a policy within the contract, and therefore he can act upon you. That's what legal and illegal means. And we can get into the difference between force and enforce in a bit if you want as well. So hopefully that clears the difference up between lawful and legal.
Yeah. Yeah. What I'd like to jump into, and obviously a big thing going on in England and Ireland and Scotland and everything within the UK at the moment. I want to get straight in on digital ID. It's. I don't think it's going away because it has to come in order for them to move forward to a digital currency, and obviously we can talk about that as well. But for a government to immediately act and put in a digital ID system that everybody is expected to fall under, is that lawful and can it be enforced? Or is this down, as we said, with the contracts, is this down to a conditional acceptance?
You got it. So one of the things is the one thing we have to understand is the government does not deal in law. Okay. So when people say it's lawful, well, the government doesn't deal in law. So lawful is irrelevant. I only deal in legal, and that's what the government deals in. In fact, one of the things that people fall into the trap, it's called a legal system for a reason. It's not called lawful system, it's called legal system. And the justice system operates, justice system in quotes, that always makes me laugh, justice system, operates within the legal system. So it doesn't actually deal in law. Police do not deal in law, governments do not deal in law, and the courts don't deal in law. They deal with legal. They deal with acts and statutes, legislation. All these things are conditions within contract. So what people don't realize, and I'm going to have to try and explain this so that people understand what is actually going on, so then you can then understand the remedy. Everybody, and this is not just in the UK, which is a corporation, but every single country on the planet is in fact operating a system of commerce that the average person is completely unaware of. They don't even realize they're actually operating within it. So let me explain. We've covered autographs and signatures. Now, last time we spoke, we probably spoke about the average person being illiterate, not understanding the words written on the paper. Mm-hmm. Now, the average person doesn't know the difference between a word, a label, and a legal title. So when you get a document from the government, the average person thinks that there are words written on that document and go, no. They're either labels or legal titles. And in most cases, they're a legal title. So let me explain the difference. So a word is a descriptor. A word is used to describe something, so woman, man, cat, dog, whatever it is, fast, slow. These are descriptors. To understand what these words mean, you need to know what language is being used, and you need to know the dictionary so you can look up the word. And this is why you should always refer to Oxford English Dictionary and the English language. Then you know what the word means. So that's a word. By the way, a word has no legal control over you. It's just a word. Then you've got a label. Now, this is a bit of a trap. Labels are created by the author who created the label, and they will use it and apply it to you. They'll try and stick a label on you. But what a label is a form of classification. So they'll call you anti-vaxxer or misogynist or something like this, or something like atheist or whatever. And that's a label they're trying to apply onto you. Mm-hmm. And if you accept that label, they can bring in all this extra stuff like sovereign citizen. In fact, this just happened to me. I was interviewed by the Sunday Times, and apparently some sovereign citizen went on a killing spree in Australia or something. So the interviewer tried to apply the sovereign citizen label upon me. And I went, whoop, can't do that. I don't accept that label. Thank you very much. If I accepted that label, he can then involve me with all the other sovereign citizens. And that's a nasty trap to fall into.
Yeah.
The last thing, this is the important thing that people have got to remember, is legal titles. So a legal title means you are operating in a contract. And I'll give you an example. Like, as you probably know, operating in the UK corporation, they have something called the council tax.
Oh, yes.
Yep. So you know all about the council tax.
Well, I know that we went to court and arrested the judge back in. That was in Birkenhead. That was going back a while ago.
Good times.
You know all about that one.
Oh, yes. So you go. So how did they do it? Now, one of the things people have got to understand is your name. For something to actually apply to you, your name has got to be in that document. Now, if you look at all the access statutes, your name is nowhere to be seen. So straight away, the sovereign man and woman will go, well, hang on a minute, none of that applies to me. And it doesn't. So this is just a mindset thing. People think legislation applies to them. No, it doesn't.
Yeah.
And by the way, the government tell you this. Because your name is not there, you know it doesn't apply to you. So how do the government get those access statutes to apply to you? And what they do is they get you to accept a legal title that you don't even see. And one of those is within the council tax. So the council tax will say this: the resident is obligated to pay the council tax. I don't have a problem with that, but I know that the word resident is not a word. I also know it's not a label. I know it's actually, in fact, a legal title. So what the government has said, or the council has said, just with that one word, they are saying you are in contract with the council. You've accepted the legal title resident, which means you do not own the property, but you occupy it for the use of commerce. And because you are the resident, you are in business with the council, therefore you've got to pay us. That's what it means when they use the word resident. So what I do is I go, well, hang on a minute. I need to see the paperwork where I've accepted that legal title resident. And if they can't provide it within 30 days, guess what? Council tax is null and void, doesn't apply to me. Gone. People have got to learn this system. And they need to do this with everything about taxation. We'll probably cover taxation in a bit. By the way, they can't force you to pay tax. We'll get into that.
I know. I've got a good one on there.
Okay, good. We'll get into that. When people figure this out, I'm telling you, you have so much fun with this.
Yeah.
Because all the people that I've got, that learn this, I hold a Sunday chess club and I educate people in the paperwork. They're having so much fun. They're going, I'm going to have so much fun with it. Anyway, the system is a bluff. It's so fragile. But anyway. So now we know what the government is doing. The government, what they're doing is they are applying their legislation to legal titles. Now, the trap that people fall into is accepting the legal title. So let's talk about universal digital ID.
Yeah.
Digital ID. Technically, the digital ID is already here. It's already operating. And it's a combination of your driver's license and your mobile phone. All the government wants to do is introduce an app that ties the two together. That's all they want to do. Now, what people don't understand is when you take on a legal title, it strips you of your rights. For example, if you register your car, then on the V5, the logbook, you are now called a registered keeper.
Yeah.
Now, the problem with this is you've accepted that title, registered keeper. That means you've given up all your rights. That means the government or the police no longer need a warrant. You've accepted the legal title. It pushes you really low down on the pecking order of this hierarchy of commerce. So the government know this, and the police, senior police do. The Bobby on this beat probably doesn't. But what he knows is he can kick in your front door because he says, is there a registered keeper here? Yes, there is. Right, we don't need a warrant. We can just kick in the door. So if you accept certain legal titles, you also give up your rights. If you've registered your car, what you've also done is you've tied in all of your details to that car, done through the registration number or the license plate, which is then tied to the VIN number of the vehicle. If you apply for a driver's license, all the questions, look at all the questions they ask you. They ask about your health, and you put all that in. Eyesight, or any health conditions, so you've put all this in. The problem is when you fill this form in, you are consenting to DVLA to look at your medical records. So now they know it all. Now it's tied to the VIN number of the car because you've consented. Remember what you're doing as well. When you fill in these forms with the government, what are you doing? You're using a title called Mr., which is the lowest officer on board ship. So you've accepted the maritime law system. You're lower than low. And it says surname. Put your surname in here. Well, what does surname mean? That's a surety name. That's your debtor's name. That's your all caps name, birth certificate. You've agreed to be the debtor. Then says put in your national insurance number. What's that? That's the bank account number that you're going to pay your tax into. So just by filling the form, you're consenting, you're agreeing to all of it.
Yeah.
So they've got the driver's license, they've got you registering a car, that's DVLA, and then your mobile phone. I mean, oh my God. Does anybody literally read the instructions or, sorry, say the contract when you take out a phone contract? No one reads it. They always, because it's like pages and pages long, isn't it?
Yeah.
But what you've literally done is you've ticked it and you've opened up your entire life to that phone company. We know that the phone's listening on you. The camera's working all the time. The GPS is being recorded and sent back. And it gets worse than that because people, what do they do on their mobile phone? They put the Facebook app on, Instagram app, all these apps. So they're all now sharing data and you've consented because you've agreed to the terms and the conditions. Then people put on their banking app. I mean, what are you doing, people? So what the government is doing is trying to tie this all together. Now, this is the good news. Within contract law, there has to be something what is referred to as informed consent. Has to be.
Yeah.
This is a maxim of law. If there is no informed consent, then the contract is null and void. So one of the things you should be doing now, okay, let's get into this. This is an important thing that people are failing. People are like refusing the digital ID. And I go, don't do that. If you refuse, you're now accepting the obligation, and now you're refusing to carry out your duty of that obligation. So this is how commerce works. This is why the policeman will say to you, can I see, the policeman will say, what's your details? What's your name and address? Now, if I say, do I have to give them to you? He's going to come back at me and say, are you refusing to give your details? If you say yes, you've just entered into joinder. So the policeman can now enforce the policy upon you and get the truncheon out and bash you over the head. You've contracted. So what people have got to learn, you've got to learn, I'm trying to get this message out to everybody as fast as I can. People were petitioning the digital ID. And I was going, please don't do that. And I'll explain why. If you petition, you've accepted the obligation of the very thing you've petitioned against. You've accepted it.
Yeah.
And within a modern petition, what do? Is they ask you for 3 bits of information: name, address, signature. They're the 3 score. That's mark of the beast. So if you give over 3 bits of information in contract law, it means you've contracted. You've agreed. Because that's the magic number 3. We all know about they like their numbers. So if you sign a petition, you're agreeing to the very thing you're petitioning against, which means you're now obligated. You weren't before. Now, the worst thing is the petition that was going around in the UK corporation, the digital one, guess what? People were using their mobile phone to use their digital signature. And I'm going, what are you doing? Stop it. You're contracting. Now, let me just explain to people how this system of commerce works. And then you'll be able to see a way out.
Yeah.
Why do you think that the government itself puts out these petitions to petition against the government? It makes no sense. You go, why would you do that?
No, I thought that myself, actually. Yeah. Why would they, on their own government website, put something out to allow people to stop them? And part of me thought, okay, there's some kind of karma within this. Maybe they have to, but no
karma. It's business. This is how it works. As I've just explained, if you fill in the petition, you're contracted. And I think 2.7 million people signed the petition. So now 2.7 million have now agreed to the digital ID. But you've got to understand, how does the government fund itself? It doesn't have any money of its own. And it's not funded by taxation. So a lot of people say it's funded by taxation. No, it isn't. It's funded by the credit of the people. Mm-hmm. And this is done. I won't go too deep. This is all tied into your Sester KV trust. But what's going on is the creditor, which is the people, is basically being controlled by the central bank, which is the Bank of England. So the Bank of England is basically operating as administrator of these people's trusts, where the credit comes from. So the government, the UK government, goes to the Bank of England, and the UK government says, we would like to borrow £50 billion to set up this digital ID system. And this digital ID system is set to make £500 billion over a 10-year period. So the bank goes, okay, I'm interested, and we may lend you the 50 billion to set up, and we may buy this digital ID from you, so we make £500 billion. But how do we know that the people actually want this digital ID? And what did the government do? Well, we've got a petition here, 2.7 million people signed it, and the bank goes, that'll do nicely. So the government sell the petition so that the central bank gives the government the money to set up the digital ID. And then the government makes even more money because they actually end up buying it. So they make £500 billion over a 10-year period. This is business. This is how it works. So no one knows any of this, and they fall into the trap. So digital ID, how do we combat it? First of all, we don't petition. We don't fill in forms. There's no acts and statutes. Don't bother with any of that. That's a trap anyway. You don't protest. You don't do any of that. This is where men have got to become men. Men don't protest. So what men actually do is we put our pen to paper and we serve notice. So I need men to stand their ground and say, I've had enough of this. I'm not putting up with it. And then you serve notice onto the politician operating in your area. He's not your politician. He does not represent you. He does not work for you in any way. People have got to get that out of their brain, because people are thinking, oh, I'm going to contact my local council. No, the council don't work for you. It's like McDonald's. There's nothing to do with you. So you've got to get that out of your brain. Yeah. Politicians don't work for you. They work for the International Monetary Fund. They're paid by the International Monetary Fund. So what these men have to do is to put pen to paper, and they serve notice on the local MP operating in that area. And then you say, it's come to my attention that your corporation, the UK corporation, has got nothing to do with me, appears to be forcing me to have some sort of digital ID. You've got 30 days to stop this. Otherwise, I'm going to take you to court and I'm going to sue you for every single penny you've got. That's how we put a stop to it, with men putting their authority down. Enough is enough. I'm not begging. I'm not protesting. I'm not petitioning. I'm not saying pretty please. I'm putting my authority in a piece of paper, and it's me serving notice upon you, cease and desist or else. See, what people, especially men, what men have forgotten is the paperwork is the extension of the sword. Men have forgotten this.
Yeah.
It's in modern day paperwork today, even the terminology. And I explain how it works. As a man, this is not women, because men are supposed to be the providers, the protectors, and the problem solvers, right? You know this as a man, it's deep inside you. You know this is to be true. You know deep inside of you, you should be protecting women and children at all costs. It's a given. I'm not going to debate anybody on that. As a man, you know it, period, end of. So the man is the provider, and this is most important, but he's the protector. So as the man, the protector says, I'm going to protect women and children, especially the women and children under my house. They're protected under my house. A man's house is the authority that he puts upon the bricks and mortar. So a house is not the bricks and mortar. It's the authority he puts on it. And he goes, anyone who crosses my border of my house, you're trespassing, and I will chop you up into little pieces. Men have got to get strong, and they've got to show it in the paperwork first. So the way it works, your right hand of a man, the right hand man of a man is the offer of peace, and it's also the justice giver. So as two men meet, we know this. What do? We offer off empty hand in peace, and we shake hands. There's no sword, okay? If another man should cross us, this same hand draws the sword. Okay, it's going to get real. Now, what we do as men is we realize we can't go around killing each other and chopping each other up with swords. So what we do is we do it in paperwork first. This is why most people fail using paperwork, because they copy remedies from the internet. They'll download a template, they'll sign it, send it off, and they go, oh, it didn't work. Yeah, because you got no authority. It wasn't your paperwork. You're copying someone else's homework. Not going to work for you. If you send off a piece of paper you copied off the internet and it's all please, thank you, and all this sort of stuff, you send it to a debt collector, they're going to know you're bluffing. So people, especially men, what you've got to do is you put your authority down and you mean business. And you say, I will sue you. So one man on his own trying to do this is like, he'll end up being a martyr. He'll be stormed, he'll be squashed, you'll never hear from him again. They'll I've already had the police around my house. I need at least 100,000 sovereign men with true, real authority. And I'm not talking like you've got to be violent. I'm not talking about football hooligans, but able to put your authority down into the document and you cease and desist. I've served notice upon you. This is not I'm not asking, I'm telling.
Yeah.
And this is the shift that has to happen. Because at the moment, people are hiding within groups. They're part of the collective. They're doing petitions and protests. That's the herd mentality. Men have got to stand alone, if you like, on their own ground and be seen. All this terminology is used today. Like, you understand the word understand. If I say to somebody,
yeah,
yes. So understand. If I point to you and say, do you understand? I'm saying you understand under me. That's what the policeman is saying. Yeah. Now, the word stand literally means where do you stand in the situation? So, do you understand? Now, another one is if I say to you, would you stand by me? Well, that means you are standing by my side physically. If I say I'm going to make my last stand, well, that's it then. It's like Sundance, Butch and Sundance, the last, I'm going out with a blaze of glory. That's my last stand.
Yeah.
So this word stand, people have got to learn. Men have been conditioned to forget all this and to act almost like boys. Oh, yeah, let me just cover this as well. It's just so people understand. What a boy is, means that they are it's a male under the authority of a man. That's what a boy is. You could be 35 years old and be a boy. Men are not under the authority of anybody. No one has authority over me. I'll have my last stand on that. No. I will work with other men as equals, not a problem at all. Equal status, not a problem, but no one has the authority over me. So most males today are acting as boys, unfortunately, and you've got to stand up, grow a pair, put your authority down in that document and say enough is enough. And that's when it comes to an end.
Yeah. While we're on the subject of digital ID, and obviously,
yes,
let's say we get a lot of people coming to us now and they say, do you know what? I want to do that. I want to put a letter into my MP. Mm-hmm. It's something that we can do as a guideline to give to people so they can take the guidelines of what we're saying. And is it better if this is put into wet ink and handwritten?
Yeah, well, you can use a printer, and this is my weapon here. You can probably just see it just at the corner there. Printer and a scanner. That's my weapon. That's what I use.
Yeah.
You can do text. It's not a problem, but you should always be doing wet ink signatures, autographs.
Yeah.
Okay. So the thing with templates, as you know, I run the Sovereign Project. Yes, I've got a website. Yes, there's loads of templates on there. Okay. But I want people to use those templates as a guide so they can write their own.
Yeah.
If they just copy it and send it off and you get, I don't know, 100,000 men all sending in identical notices, all being downloaded from the Sovereign Project website, it's not going to have any effect.
No.
Because the government says you just copy and pasted this, there's no authority.
Yes.
So people have got to learn to put their authority in their own words into the document. So I'm not saying you use bad language or threats or nothing like that. You become sophisticated. You become professional. You become business-like. I mean, I use a term called the serial killer. Have you seen Dexter?
Yes.
Yeah. Do you know he's nice, isn't he? He's a nice chap. He's giving out the donuts. He's polite. Right up until he gets the knife out and he starts chopping up. That's what I teach people to be like.
Yeah.
So you should be you should be considerate. Doesn't mean you give out respect. I don't give out respect. I will give consideration. You got to earn my respect. I will use please and thank you. I will hold the door open for women, not a problem at all. I try not to swear. I try and reduce my swearing. If I start swearing, you know it's going to kick off. Someone's going to get hurt.
Yeah.
And then I will be nice. I'll be pleasant. I will like have a laugh and a joke. I'll even try and talk down situations because I wouldn't say I'm a violent man, but I will use it if it's needed.
Yeah.
But then there'll be a crossing point, and then I will not be nice anymore. And you do not want to be on that side. And that's what I'm trying to educate men to be.
Yes.
Be honorable, be nice, be considerate, handshake, not a problem. But there's that line that if you cross that man, it's going to come for you. And this is what I teach. You will become the serial killer. So Dexter, you want to be like Dexter. So in your documentation, you be neutral. Take out the emotion and you just put it out very clear and you just say what's going to happen. And you say things like, if you would continue down this path, you're going to violate my rights. This will put you in a position of being potentially liable for your actions, where you will have to pay me damages. So this is something I teach to people and I educate people. I've got online courses and stuff like this that educates people. The problem we have is the average person today, unfortunately, they've been bred not to do their own paperwork. They've done tick boxes, websites, forms, and all this is new to them. Unfortunately, there's people that I know, they're in their 60s and have never written a letter in their life. And I go, how the hell did you get to 60 without ever writing a letter? I was writing letters when I was 15. Yeah. How do you apply for a job? Yeah. You know, you got to do a letter. You got to do CV. So this is a new thing people have got to, you just got to own it. You just got to, all right, you might feel stupid. Anyone watching this and says, I've never written a letter in my life. Okay, fine. You feel stupid. Fine, whatever. Get over it. Yeah. Now learn. Now the time is now. Learn. The reason you've got to learn this paperwork, if we have time, we'll get into a Lord Your Titan and all this sort of stuff because no one owns anything.
No,
you don't own your car.
Yeah.
So you know all that. So you have to learn the paperwork if you want to claim your house back, your car back, your children back, your business back, and all this sort of stuff. You've got to learn it. So that's what I would suggest people do. You've got to be a man, put your authority down in paper, learn how to use it.
Yeah. One thing I'm hearing, I was talking with Gareth Ike this week, and he was saying that in the UK right now, the facial recognition is off the charts and people don't realize now. Yes. Apparently, there's well in excess of over 50,000 facial recognition scans being carried out. Who this information is going to, I'm not quite sure of, but I wouldn't say that's completely legal. Would I be right in thinking that?
100% correct. So once you begin to learn the system of commerce, you can play the game. So let's just touch on CCTV facial recognition. Now, we have to spot the language of what's being said. This gives you a clue on how you tackle it. And if we destroy facial recognition, by the way, it's dead easy, digital ID collapses. It doesn't work because you need the both.
Right.
So, CCTV. Let's say you've got a shop. In fact, you can have one outside your house. You can have CCTV outside your house. It's not a problem. You're not violating anybody's rights because it's just a camera recording stuff. There's no problem with that. Everybody today has got a mobile phone and it's got a camera on it. And you can record it in the streets, not a problem. You're not violating anyone's rights, okay? Now, you've got to understand contract law and you also got to understand commerce. Let's say you're on a beach and you're filming your family and some bloke behind you just gets caught in the video. No, I'm done. However, if you decide to look up the bloke and look up his name and look up his address, you're going to be in serious hot water because you never had any right to do that.
Yeah.
It didn't cause you any harm. There's no contract there. There's no legal requirement in any way, shape, or form. You don't have the right to do that. Now, if you filmed him and he stole your car keys and stole your car, now you have cause because he did do something to you. That's the cause. There has to be a cause before you can have the right to find out his details. This is contract law. This is commerce. So he's the one who caused it. I now have the right to look you up and find out where you live. That's the same in a jewelry shop. Jewelry shop can have CCTV. No, I have no problem with that. Tesco's can have CCTV. No problem with that. If you catch someone stealing, that then gives Tesco's the right to look up who you are so they can come after you and prosecute you.
Yeah.
CCTV. Now, facial recognition. Well, they just told you. Facial, it's your face. Recognition. That means they're going to recognize your face. And I go, whoa, we have a problem. How the hell are you going to recognize my face when I walk into Tesco's? To be able to recognize it, they must already have my face on their database. So they can compare the two, and then my name and address comes up, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Whoa, we have a problem. When exactly did I allow Tesco's to have my face and my details on their database? I don't remember signing any contract. I don't remember giving any permission. So how do I tackle it? I use commerce. So I'll walk in, get my camera. I'll record the visit. I'll probably have a witness with me. I'll record the sign where it says CCTV, facial recognition. There you go. I've recorded it. Fantastic. I've got a time and a place and everything. I could even talk to the manager. And I can even go up to the manager of Tesco's and say, do you operate a facial recognition system within these premises? And he go, yes, we do. Thank you very much. I'll walk out. Then what I'll do is get my pen or my printer and I'll write a notice and I'll serve it upon Tesco's. And I will say, it's come to my attention that you are in fact operating a facial recognition system within your premises. Is this correct? I'll then hit them with a DSAR. So the DSAR will be, I'm going to give you 30 days to provide me with all the data that you have upon me. This is a trick question. You're trapping them. This is the fun bit because they've got a problem. So if they actually supply it to me, then they've just proved they have my data on their database because they've sent it to me. Oh, there it is. There's a picture. It's got my data, everything. It's their document. They sent it to me. I'll go, thank you for that. You've just incriminated yourself. So then I will then send them another notice and I will give them 14 days to provide the contract that I signed allowing Tesco's to have my data on their database. And they can't do it. I can also ask, where did you get it from? They can't do it. So I've now trapped them. So now I can sue them and I can sue them through GDPR. So people have got to learn this system. Look, this is where the sovereign mindset comes into play. The slave mindset will go, oh, facial recognition. What am I going to do? Well, that's the slave mindset.
Yeah.
The sovereign will go, oi, when did I allow you to have my face on your database? And I can now use the tools of the legal system, which is a contract system, against them. And now, I think a typical payout on that would be £2,500. And your face would then be deleted from their database. So Tesco's would not have the right to have your face at all. When people learn this and start challenging contracts and obligations, this is when this entire system comes to an end. Yeah. All of it folds. The government, I'm going to tell you some truth now. And I don't, people aren't going to like it, but it's the truth. The government will never, ever, ever force you to do anything, ever, and they don't. They don't force you. What they do, in fact, do is called enforce. What's the difference? Force would be like me getting a gun, pointing it at you and saying, you've got to pay me £1,000. You're not obligated to pay me. There's no duty to pay me. There's no contract. You haven't harmed me in any way. I'm just pointing a gun at you and saying, you've got to pay me the £1,000. That is called force. And what have I just done? Broken the law.
Yeah.
That's a crime. You are the victim of the crime because I forced you to give me £1,000. What I can do is enforce you to pay me. And what does that mean? It means there was a contract between us. So let's say, for example, there's a contract between us and I was going to wash your car for you and detail it, and you were going to pay me £1,000. So there's your Volkswagen thing. So I did a lovely job, cleaned it, polished it, all that sort of stuff. It goes, there you go. It's all done for you. I've done a fantastic job, A1. And then you turn around to me and say, I'm not going to pay you. Oh, yes, you are, because now I can enforce the contract upon you. So I can get the very same gun, pointed at it and say, give me £1,000. That's not breaking the law. Right. I'm enforcing a policy. I'm enforcing a contract, you see. It's contractual. Mm-hmm. That is what government does. And as soon as people learn this, you can play the game, because all you got to do is ask, where's the contract? So, digital ID. Have you signed a contract agreeing to digital ID? Don't think you have. I haven't signed one. So this is why you serve notice upon the local politician. He don't work for me. There's some politician who works for some government I never heard of. So I serve notice upon him and I say, you've got 30 days to provide me with a contract that I signed, agreeing that the government could use my face on their database and issue me with a digital ID. This is how it works. And this is what men should be doing.
With the facial recognition, and obviously we're well aware now that this is against, we haven't contracted into this.
No.
But like, we use Tesco's as an example there. What about the cameras that we're seeing on the streets now? The ones that go back to government offices, literally, whether it's a police station or whether it's for the local council or whatever. Is it the same system? Are they putting facial recognition into those?
100%.
Yeah.
It's exactly the same. So you've seen the vans in town, haven't you? The big van, and it's got on the side facial recognition, okay, and there's cameras. Fantastic. They're making it easy for me. So what do? You
get know where it is.
Yes. They couldn't make it more easy. They've labeled it. See, it's a facial recognition operating in this area. Oh, lovely. Thank you. So you take a video of it, you make a time, date, that sort of stuff. And then you would contact the local council. You don't rush this game. Remember, we're the serial killer, aren't we? We go slowly. We serve notice. And we can even be nice and polite. I don't mind. And I will say, I do believe there was a van operating in the town centre of the Sunday, 12:30. And I am trying to find the owner of said van. Is this a council van? Get a letter back. Yes. Just making it easy.
Yeah, we own that one, yeah.
Yes, we own that. Oh, thank you very much for acknowledging that. Right. So I do believe you caught my face on one of your cameras. Therefore, I need to see the contract that allowed you to do this. Oopsie daisy. Checkmate. Because they can't provide it. And as soon as they can't provide that contract, they're in breach of contract. That's illegal. It's also unlawful, by the way. You can escalate this. There's 3 layers that people have got to understand: civil, tort, criminal. This is within the legal system. Civil matter. Civil actually comes from civilian. Okay. We spoke about legal titles earlier. Yeah. A civilian, that's a legal title, is a civilian operating in a jurisdiction that is under the authority of civil procedure codes. It's contractual. So to be a civilian means you are in contract. Mm-hmm. So today, civil means contract. Civil matter. It's a dispute over a contract. Okay. Civil matter. Now, civil matter means a contract does exist and there's a dispute over it. That's low level. The next one above that is what is called tortuous, or a tort law. Now, what that means is someone is imposing a contract upon you where one does not exist. That's considered tortuous. This can be done by mistake. Again, like facial recognition. The council might have done it by mistake. Whoopsie daisy. I'm going to give them a way out. I can say, okay, all's forgiven. Just remove my face from your database. So I give them a way out. But that's a tort because I didn't give permission. There's no contract. If they refuse and they double down, I can now turn it into criminal matter.
Right.
Because now I can prove intent. So that was your intent to impose a contract upon me where one does not exist. Right, that's a criminal matter then. That's extortion. This is how you destroy council tax. Because if you send a letter to the council saying, I need to see the contract where I agree to pay council tax, and you get a letter back and it says, we don't need a contract, but you have to pay us anyway. Oh, golden ticket. Oh, well done. Thank you very much. An employee has just threatened me. I can throw so much extra statutes at that employee. He's done. I want that employee in prison for 3 years because he's sending me threatening letters saying, I don't need a contract, but you've got to pay me anyway. That's extortion. That's threatening. That's sending malicious documentation through the post.
Yeah.
This is what people got to learn. Instead of running away and going, oh, what are we going to do? Oh, da, da, da. Get angry as a man. You go, how dare you do this? When did I give you the authority? Oh, but here's the thing about authority. I ask this is how I test people to see if they're slave-minded or they are sovereign-minded. I'll say to them, where does authority come from? If they say government, I'll go, well, okay, I can't help you. Put your mask on, go and live in your 15-minute cities and eat cricket burgers because I can't help you. You've got the slave mentality, right? The sovereign says it comes from me. Yeah. Authority comes from me. As soon as you know where authority comes from and you get letters from the council saying we're doing this, you already know they don't have the authority because you didn't give it.
Yeah.
So that's when you serve notice and you give them 30 days to provide you with the evidence of where they're getting the authority from to do the thing upon you. Because I didn't give it. Men are going to get angry, but you've got to get sophisticated. You've got to learn this game. You can have so much fun.
So what we're saying is, if people first now tackle the problem with facial recognition, digital ID could not exist.
Bingo.
Perfect.
Bingo. It's done. It's done.
Okay, so let's hop into something else. I'm currently trying to promote lawful dissent within what I call united non-compliance, just standing in your power en masse and saying no. What do you think can be achieved with united non-compliance, where the people within the UK, people in any country for that matter, stand together against something they know to be unlawful and say no?
Correct.
First of all, is it completely easy to do? And en masse, if people actually start to stand together, can we actually make a difference?
Absolutely, but it depends on how we do it. If you're part of a group, then you're just a herd. It doesn't work. Okay. So if say this is why, again, remember we spoke about earlier about why does the government set up its own petitions against government? Well, have you ever asked yourself why does the government actually organize protests against itself? Because if you look at it, because they do.
Yeah.
And you go, why did they do that?
We'll give you authority for a gathering in the middle of London.
Yes, that's what they do. So you are now privileged. You can now protest. As a commoner, you can shake your fist so you feel good about yourself.
Yeah.
And it relieves the tension of the people because the people feel like they've done something, but in reality, they've done nothing at all. Because you've acted like part of the herd.
Yeah.
Because if you get 1 million people together and they're all part of a group, the group's got no say. This is considered one voice.
Right.
That's it.
So it has to be an individual basis.
Yes.
But
correct.
All together.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, as a network. So it'll be me doing it, you doing it. Every man, if you're a man, you do it under your own name using your own paperwork. This is why I don't like the word community or society or anything like that, because that's a collectivism term. I prefer network. So the men I have in my network were all equals. And these men, they're learning this, and you don't want to mess with them because they'll strip you to death with their notices. You'll have nothing left. You won't have a shirt. You won't have a shirt left. So what I'm trying to say is it should be a network of men who are unique individuals, each with their own name and each with their own house, using their own authority, using their own individual paperwork, but networked. We can be organized. It's not a problem. But is it individuals?
Yeah.
So I like your idea of non-compliance, but we have to clean the language up. Okay, this is the problem with the language. So if you say non-compliance, what you're actually saying to the government is you are not going to comply with them, which means you've accepted the obligation to comply, but you're now not going to do it. So you've contracted. So we can't use the terminology non-compliance. So instead of that, what we should be doing is en masse, but as individuals, as a network, is asking questions, right? And this is the power of the question. This is the Socratic method. So this is where you actually, in a debate, you would use questions to get to the truth. So As king, I am the king. So I am the king. So I am asking the questions. So what men need to do is start asking questions under their authority. And it's quite simple. So whatever the government wants to bring out, all you've got to do is ask a very simple question, or there's probably three of them. Am I obligated? I want to see it. Where are you getting the authority from? And where's my informed consent?
Yeah.
That's how we do it. Because then the politicians start looking at each other and go, the game's up. The men are rising. The kings are rising because they're now asking the questions.
Yeah.
So instead of saying I'm not going to comply, I'm going to go, am I even obligated to comply? Where's my obligation? Where's the contract? When did I agree to this? Where's my informed consent? Where are you getting the authority from? And that is when they back down. And if you do it correctly, they'll see in your eyes you're not messing about. You can't fake this.
No.
So you go, you know what I mean? When a man gets angry, I'm not messing with him. I've gone too far. So that's how we do it, but we get organized. So I need to create a network of 100,000 plus men who can stand in their own power and ask them questions and go, am I even obligated? And it's the same with taxation as well, by the way, because we can get onto tax as well, because
no, I'd like to get onto income tax, actually.
Income tax, you could get onto that.
Yeah. So I was looking into income tax the other day because part of my thought line on United non-compliance is, can we do something about funding the very machine that seeks to grind us down? And I did discover that the income tax in the UK has never been taken off, being temporary. And each year, this has to be renewed to continue that temporary status. Now, I know that in the US, it's not even legal. If anybody wants to look up the Aaron Russo's Freedom to Fascism, he actually proved that there is nothing there that can actually enforce this. There's never been anything legal brought about for people to pay income tax. The UK, can they actually challenge this temporary income tax and stop it being renewed somehow?
Well, here's the thing. You could, but I wouldn't bother. And I'll explain why. You see, all tax, inheritance tax, income tax, no matter what tax you call it, all of it is contractual. You can't be forced to pay any of it. You see, the way it works, the government enforces tax. Remember what I was saying earlier about force and enforce? Yeah. So what they'll do is they'll trick you into entering into a contract. And then you are obligated to pay the tax. Contract comes first, and then the tax bill comes second. That's how they do it.
Do they get around it more? And this is the one thought I had on this. Obviously, a lot of people are employees. Now, on a business-to-business basis, your employer is in contract with the government, and therefore they take the income tax out of your pay on the PAYE before you even receive it. So that's the company, because it's business to business, it's contract within that. So your employer is actually not doing you any benefits in removing the income tax before you receive your week's pay. It's convenient, 100%. Don't get me wrong, and most people think that that's convenient. But when I looked into this, your company that you work for is legally obliged to pay your income tax to the government. There's got to be a way around this. I know that, like in the US and Canada, if you're you at the end of the year, you divvy your taxes up and you pay, but you can still pay through your wages. I often wondered whether an employee could say to their employer, please pay me the full extent of my wages and I will handle at the end of the year any income tax that's needed. And in the hope that at that point, you don't refuse to pay your taxes.
Yes.
Legally, you're allowed to withhold them because you are paying for a service from a government that you are not receiving. And until they do what it is you want, then you seem to hold the power of paying them that money. But I think that the key thing is never to refuse to pay them.
Correct.
Just say you are withholding and state the reasons why.
Right. let's expand on that. You're going in the right direction. I like your thinking. I really do. And you're absolutely correct. You never refuse to pay, because if you refuse to pay, you've accepted the obligation.
Yeah.
But also, if you said, I'm just holding it, what have you just done? You've accepted the obligation to pay it. You see, this is why a lot of people are falling into the trap of doing a notice of conditional acceptance with council tax.
Mm-hmm.
And I say, don't do that. Don't do that. Okay. Yes. Let me unpack this, and then people will see what's going on, and then you'll understand the remedy.
Yeah.
So in commerce, before I receive a bill, and by the way, this is another little fact for you. Council tax do not send you out, the council do not send you out a council tax bill, because they can't. So they don't send you one. They actually send you an article, and people think it's a bill, and it's not a bill. But we'll get into that if you want in a bit, if you've got time. So the way it works in commerce, for me to actually have a bill in the first place, it starts with my consent. And that means I have to place an order. So it starts with me. I place an order. And it can be with anybody. Like, let's say a plumber. So I phone a plumber up and I say to the plumber, I've got a leaky tap. I need you to come out to my house and I need you to fix it. Fine. Plumber turns up. And this is when you negotiate the contract. Plumber has a look at it and goes, yeah, I can fix it. It'll take me an hour. I'll charge you £100 plus £1 for a washer because it needs a new washer. That's the contract. This is a bilateral contract. Okay. So your bilateral means both parties are equal in status. So you can go back and forth. You can negotiate.
Yeah.
Bilateral. So you go, yeah, I'll take that deal, Mr. Plumber. I will instruct you to carry out the job. So contract has been accepted.
And conditional acceptance based on what you want as well, yeah?
Yes, absolutely. It's accepted, but the plumber has to deliver. So he's now obligated. So he's obligated to deliver. I'm still not obligated to pay, even though I've accepted the contract, because he hasn't delivered yet.
Yeah.
So the plumber then fixed the tap. He does a good job and it's all done lovely. It's not leaking. Fantastic. Therefore, he's carried out the obligation. So he's done his side of the contract. That now means I'm obligated to pay. So what I'll do is I'll say to the plumber, I need an invoice. So he supplies you with an invoice. Normally, it's a 30-day invoice. An invoice will detail the work done, the amount of time, and the amount to be paid. You can pay on an invoice, but you don't have to. After the 30 days, the plumber will send you a bill. Now, a bill is the demand for payment. This is very important that people got to understand. If you receive a bill, you can no longer negotiate. You can't do notice of conditional acceptance on a bill because that's negotiating. You don't have the right. It's a demand to pay. So on a bill, if you get a bill, then you should be paying it. But if you do receive a bill, you have the right to see all the paperwork that supports the bill. Mm-hmm. So council tax, they send you a fake bill. It's not a bill. It's an article. It's not a some certain bill. It's not written in English and it's complete junk. It's no signature on it or anything. So you get this fake bill in the post. You have a look at it. Go, well, this is some sort of article with no legal standing because it's not signed. So you send a letter back to the council and say, I'm going to need to see all the paperwork that supports this bill, which means I need to see the invoice, work done, and I need to see the original contract, and I need, when did I place my order? If they can't give you all that paperwork, guess what? That bill is null and void. It goes in the bin. It's got no legal standing. And by the way, here's another little thing that everybody should know. The courts can't get involved. They can't touch it. The courts won't get involved because there's no paperwork supporting the bill. The courts know there's no bill. And that's why the magistrate's going, we're not getting involved in that because you cannot impose that bill on the people. That's why the council hire the courtrooms. And that's why they use fake court summons. You've got to look at what's written. If you get one of these fake court summons for council tax and you read it, there'll be on the bottom of it, don't pay the courts, pay us directly. You what? You look on the document and it'll say case number and it'll be 2 digits. And you go, what do you mean? Well, how can the case number be 2 digits? It's 7 digits at least for a normal case. And that's because it's an internal case number just for the council. And then if you actually push on it, and I'll say to the council, where did this summons come from? They'll say, oh, it came from the office of the council. Excuse me? An office in the council is now issuing summons?
Yeah.
This is illegal. So you challenge the paperwork. So the bill, you can't. So let's go back to the tax. the thing with a tax is if you receive a tax bill, you can do exactly the same thing. You can say, how am I obligated to pay? Now, this is the beauty of this. You're absolutely correct in what you said earlier, where as an employee, legal title, you've entered into a contract to work for your boss, which is the employer. Mm-hmm. The employer has registered his business with Company House.
Yes.
That means he is basically a franchise of the UK corporation. And that is how they actually do it. And that's how they get you to pay the tax, nice and legal. But guess what? They can't tell you this because the game would be up, wouldn't it? Because if you actually say, hang on a minute, how can I be obligated to pay this income tax? I need to see it. I need to see the paperwork. They can't provide it because that means the game is up. So you can go down that route. Now, it depends on your boss and it depends on the size of the company that you work on. A lot of the smaller businesses that I know, they're deregistering. So I don't know if you know, but if you have a registered business within the UK corporation, they're actually bringing in the digital ID. It's a part of the requirement now.
Yeah, I know they were pushing for that. Yeah.
That's right. So you've got to do biometrics as well. So that means all your DNA and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
So thousands of smaller businesses are going, no. So what they're actually doing is terminating with Company House, dissolving their limited company and saying, I'm not going to be registered anymore. I'm actually now going to be a PMA. Now, if your boss does that, he can sever all ties from the UK corporation. He can now say, no, this is a private business.
What's a PMA?
PMA stands for Private Members Association.
Right, okay.
Yep. It could be done two ways. It could be very simple that you have a piece of paper and you draw up your business and you go, there you go. And you just say, I am operating as a PMA. That means the members of your business agree to the policies of your business, which would be essentially your constitution. And that's how you conduct business. Simple as that. You can set it up as a trust if you want, and you can have trustees, beneficiaries, and all that. Depends on the size of the business, but that's another subject.
Yeah.
But you're operating in the private is the main key. So you're now private. This is a private business, not public. I'm not public anymore because I've deregistered from Company's House. I've severed all ties. I've dissolved it. I've struck it off. I'm done. This means you're no longer liable for all these acts and statutes anymore, all these licensing, all the red tape that is strangling businesses to death. Mega corporations can get out of the loophole because they're so big and powerful. They're in with the government anyway. You know, Jeff Bezos and all that sort of stuff. He doesn't care about legislation.
No.
The smaller businesses,
they don't want to upset anyone.
Exactly. Exactly. So they don't care. But if you're a small business or a medium business, you know, even if you're turning over like a few million a year, you're going to be strangled to death. But if you sever all ties, suddenly you can outcompete the mega corporations. And now you can do a deal with your employees. And you can say to employees, you know what? I'm not going to call you employees and I'm not going to pay you a wage because remember, employees and wage are legal titles that are taxable. So instead of that, I will consider you a subcontractor and I will just pay you a fee. And all you do as an employee is send me a bill once a month, whatever it is, 100%, and I'll pay it all to you. That's all your national insurance, your tax, everything.
Yeah.
Not only that, but this is the beauty of it. So your employees are now subcontractors, so they get a massive pay rise because now they're better off 20%, 40% plus the national insurance. And as the boss, you are no longer required to pay 12% national insurance anymore. So you're now better off.
But
and not only that,
is the contractor then responsible for paying any taxes and yeah.
Correct. So you strike up a very simple contract between, you know, say you're the boss and your employees are now subcontractors. You draw up a very simple contract and say, I will pay you gross 100%, all of it. And as a subcontractor, it's entirely up to you whether or not you want to contract with the taxman and pay tax. It's entirely up to you. I'm not getting involved as the boss. It's a bit like the plumber. You know, if the plumber does the job and you pay him 100%, you don't deduct tax for him in national insurance. No. You just pay him. It's up to him. If he wants to pay, he can do.
So surely that is a very good option for anybody running a small business or any business, you know, themselves within the UK to be able to not only please the staff because they're getting all the wages, and okay, that they have to agree that the responsibility as a subcontractor is on them. But surely for the growth of businesses, this is key to help small business growth within the UK.
Absolutely correct. The small businesses operating in England, if you like, will explode. They will see so much money likes which they've never seen before. I mean, let's say if you was a pub. I mean, pubs are dying out. They're being strangled to death.
Yeah.
Well, why didn't you run private then? If you run private, it's now 60p a pint.
And your place will be full.
Full. Full. They'll be queuing up outside the door.
Yeah. I came. Sorry about the little glitch there, guys. We had a little issue with the volume of storage on the computer that shut us down halfway through mid conversation. We were talking about income tax. We were talking about what can and can't be done. So I hope that everybody got enough out of that there that they can put that into place. Now, when I get back to the UK in 2026, I am actually coming back. I'm going to set up a political party for the people, of the people. Is this something that the sovereign movement would support moving forwards, to actually have somebody in government now asking all the right questions, challenging laws, and at least letting people know what's coming down the pipeline to affect them? Is this long overdue, do you think? And do you think if I come back and manage to do that, it's going to benefit the people of the UK?
Yeah, I mean, there's pros and cons. I mean, technically, as a sovereign, we don't even recognize government. We have no need for it. I mean, and also, by the way, we don't actually interfere in government. That's one thing I need to get that across. You see, all government is, all it is a corporation that is offering a service to people who cannot govern themselves and need to be governed. Okay, that's all it's doing.
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with that. The problem I have is I'm getting pulled in to the government system, and I said, I didn't agree to this. That's where the government are overstepping their grounds. They're overstepping. In fact, they're violating commerce.
Yeah.
Because they're involving me. Now, we know there's irresponsible people out there. They're stupid. They cannot support themselves. I don't understand it. I don't understand it as a male. If you're a man, you have no need for government because I can run my own life. Why do I need government? I don't need government to tell me anything.
Yeah.
So, but there are people out there that just cannot control their own lives. They're irresponsible and they need a government to run it. So I'm saying to government, you do that. You run those people who can't run their own lives. Just don't involve me. Mm-hmm. So I'm not part of this digital ID or central bank digital currency or any of this ULEZ crap and all this parking tickets. And no, leave me alone. And it's not just me, it's everyone else within the sovereign network.
Yeah.
Well, if someone out there wanted to say, have some fun with the political system, a bit like, there's one out there, because isn't it the Monster Raving Loony Party or something?
Are they still going?
They're still going. I saw something the other day, actually. I think they're still going.
Raving Lord Such, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Didn't he have a Wellington boot on his head or something? It was just, but let's say if someone such as yourself may actually want to have some fun with this game, this political game, and get a party going and ask some very probing questions. Like, I tell you what, some of these questions, this is what you should be doing, is asking, where does the money come from for mortgages?
Oh, yeah.
That'd be a good one.
Yeah.
Things like, what is the truth behind these wars going on in the Middle East? The suppression of oil.
Yes.
Asking big questions about the scam regarding man-made global warming. That'd be a fun one to play. Looking for the obligation that the people have signed, giving authority to government. I've never seen it. It doesn't exist. Now, if you wanted to do that, I'd be with you on that. Just have some fun and giggles, mate.
Oh yeah.
I'd be,
Well, this is what I'd like to do, because basically, when we can expose the absolute hypocrisy of what's going on, it empowers people to stand in their own true power, as
yes.
you say, outside of being controlled by the government. One thing I also want to do, I'm going to be setting up a working model within a town in the UK, for a gold-backed local economy cash system. I'm going to do that when I get back. We're going to first work with the businesses in the area, help them grow, and get them on track with what we're doing. What's your thoughts on a local economy backed by gold, where the currency is no longer the issued central bank British pound notes, but it's your own exchange actually backed by gold? Where do you
I
stand
love that.
on that?
As you know, I love my gold and silver, and I got into gold and silver back in 2015. It's done very nicely for me, so I'm doing quite nice. So I've been trying to warn people about the inflation. I think we spoke about this off camera about the hyperinflation is now really quite obvious. It's running at what,
Yeah,
15 to 20% at least per year.
yeah.
It's time to get out. I'm all in favor of this. In fact, what I would like to do is remove the central body of any monetary system, because there's always a central bank or a government that controls it. And
Mhm.
if you give that money to a central group or a central body to control, that will breed corruption. It always does. Just looking back in history, past 2,000 years, if you know about fiat currency, it always ends up in a bad way.
Hyperinflation.
It really does. So, one of the things I was looking into is the gold back, which is actually a note. It's physically made out of gold itself. So, the intrinsic value is with the note. So, in fact, I don't even like calling it a note, because here's a note, here's a £5 note. Well, a note is, in fact, a financial instrument. That's why it's called a note, like a note.
Does it still have written on it, "I promise to pay the bearer upon demand"?
It does. And it's in tiny, tiny lettering under there. So you can barely make it out because they're trying to hide the fact.
Which makes it a promissory note.
That's right, it does.
Yeah,
And in the olden days, this is called pound sterling because it was backed by sterling silver,
which it isn't anymore.
which isn't anymore. And this
Yeah.
this is £5 of sterling silver. That's what it represents. But you don't get. I mean, you imagine that buying you £5 of sterling silver today?
I'd be cashing that in straight away, to be honest.
So
I
would I.
mean, I've been letting everyone know lately about, I've been telling people since 2011 to buy silver. I think people over the past month have realized why.
Yes.
And the
Yes.
trouble is, and as we spoke off air prior to coming on, I think that the price of silver and gold is rising because the value of your currency is devaluing so rapidly. This is
100%.
the start of hyperinflation.
Absolutely correct. Yeah. You're going to get wiped out. They're going to shut down the banks. You're going to see a financial crisis like you've never seen before. It's going to make 1929 look like a storm in a teacup.
Yeah.
This is
What I
global.
said, my words exactly with that is they're going to repeat exactly the same model. They're going to close all the banks down. They're not going to open under the laws which were enacted under the Bail-in Act in every single country with a central bank. People don't believe me. Go and look up the Bail-in Act. It means they will take your cash out the bank. So we have an exact scenario of the 1930s as we headed into the Great Depression. But
Yes,
the term I use, it's going to make the 1930s look like you dropped some loose change down the back of the sofa, because
it
there's that
really is.
much money going to be lost. This is going to be, in history, if this is pulled off, the greatest wealth transfer known to humanity. And it's not
Yes,
just going to be in the UK. This is a global lockstep thing. And this might be a good opportunity because a lot of people don't realize who the central banks are, who the Bank of International Settlements are, and why they have so much control over the world's monetary systems. These are private organizations. People seem to think that the government prints the money that we use on a daily basis, but that's not the fact, is it?
that's absolutely correct. They're private organizations. Bank of England's got nothing to do with England. It's a private bank. It's just called Bank of England. That's it.
Yeah, that's it.
So yeah,
And they create money out of thin air. It used to be, as we said, backed by silver.
yes. Used to be.
It's no longer backed by anything. And the problem that we're having now, and the whole reason I think they need to switch to a digital currency, is because they have printed that much cash out of thin air
Yes.
that it's being devalued so rapidly. It's not going to be sustainable, and this is a lockup within the credit system or a crash within the credit system. But this is going to be so big this time, people don't realize. And I think the void between hyperinflation and not being able to buy anything, it's classic Hegelian dialectic, problem reaction solution, where
It is.
they will crash the system. People will lose everything in the banks. We'll have soup lines, people begging for work on the streets. And this chaos, again, order out of chaos, whose motto is that? But the order that comes out of the chaos will be them offering a tokenized digital system, which means your car, your house, everything
Yes.
you own will be given a tokenized credit. You will have that in your digital bank account. And guess what? When the World Economic Forum said you will own nothing and like it, you now own nothing because they have exchanged everything you own for
Mhm.
these tokenized digital credits. And you will
Yes.
rent everything you had prior back from that organization. I don't think people realize the plan that's coming down the pipeline, and a lot
Mhm.
quicker than anyone's actually expecting right now.
Yeah, absolutely right. I mean, I can. It's even worse than that. The thing is nobody owns anything now today. So people think they own their own house. No, you don't. You own a title that's been granted to you from the land registry,
Yeah.
and it's not even in your name because
Unless you are
people
one of the lords in England, and this is the trick that they use. If you're a
yeah,
lord in England and you own your stately home and land,
and your estate.
you never got out of owning an alloidal title for that land,
Correct.
which means the lords will be the ones still holding property and have title to it, where
Yes.
you own absolutely nothing.
And this is where the sovereign project comes into play because we know how to do it. So, but we couldn't. I couldn't really go into it now. It's too late. But it takes a lot to explain all these remedies.
Yeah, yeah.
But
Now,
I don't. We're not start doom and gloom. There are answers for all of this. There's remedies. So I don't want people to panic. But people have got to get ready now. You've got to
yeah,
put the effort in now.
absolutely. Now, part and parcel, we talked about the digital ID, we've talked about facial recognition. But under the guise of hate speech right now, we're seeing lots of people getting visits from the police. How does this become legally enforced when we have freedom of speech or expression under the Human Rights Act?
Right. Okay. Let me explain the Human Rights Act. Right. Let's start with freedom. Because unfortunately, a lot of people in the freedom movement don't even know what freedom means, and they end up in serious trouble.
Yeah,
Freedom. What does freedom mean? So it's actually a contraction of two words: free and dom, which is dominion. So freedom actually means free in my dominion. Freedom. And by the way, you only have one freedom, and it's an absolute. So freedom is an absolute, and that means you are free in your dominion. And as a sovereign man who has no authority above him, you are free in your dominion. That is your estate. That is where I have my house, and that is where I make my law within my dominion. That's what freedom means. You only have one freedom, which is an absolute. What the freedom of the freedom of speech? Right. Let's get into this. Right. The Human Rights Act. They're telling you with the title. Have you noticed they use the word human?
mm-hmm.
Human, that's color of man. Hue means color, color of. I am man. I am not human. I am not color of man. So they're calling it Human Rights Act. Well, hang on a minute. We have another problem, don't we? Because they've just used the word act. That means it's acting as law, which means it's not law, is it? It means it's policy. Oh, now I know what's going on. So have you heard of the Bill of Rights?
Yes.
Have you ever wondered why it's called a Bill of Rights? You know, that's a bit of a strange terminology. Why is it a bill? Well, I'll explain what's going on. And this is how all countries work. So what they'll do as a sovereign man, they'll say to you, yeah, you've got freedom. And within your freedom, you have all your rights. And then the government will offer you a contract and say, would you like to operate within our country and take on a legal title, which would be British citizen or American citizen? And
Yes.
then you go, yes, okay, I'll take that on.
Yeah.
And the government will say, tell you what we're going to do is we're going to protect your rights. Oh dear, here we go. So what you've just done is you've given away all your rights to the politician. He has them now. He has control of them. You've given them up. You have none.
Yeah.
So what that politician will then do is then turn those into privileges within contract. He has authority over you. Okay, so he's the government. He has authority over you. He can tell you what to do. So what he then does is says he creates what is called a Bill of Rights, which are actually privileges that he sells back to you. That's why he's giving you a bill. So you are tricked into buying back your rights as privileges. And that is why you've agreed to pay tax. That's how they do it. So you've agreed to pay, you've given up your rights. They've created a bill. Here's your bill for your rights. They're actually privileges.
Yeah.
And you've now checkmated yourself when you've got to pay the tax. So the Human Rights Act is a trap.
So if you turn up at court and start shouting about the Bill of Rights, which was a big thing in Canada during the protests. Obviously, Bill of Rights was, again, it's within the US as well.
Yes.
You're basically giving them the ability to override any authority that you may have had prior to entering into that court.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. And it's all nice and legal because you have actually used the term Bill of Rights. You used it. So the judge is going to look at you and go, well, fair enough. You just told the judge you have no rights. You've got privileges granted to you by the government, and you're willing to pay for them. Mm-hmm. It's like when people start using common law, and I say, please, for the love of God, do not use common law in these courtrooms. Because if you walk into that courtroom and you say that you're operating on common law, what have you just told the judge? You're a commoner. You're a person of lower stock. You are without house. And in the United Kingdom, what do they have? You've got houses of parliament. They're telling you. So if you say you operate in the houses of parliament, you're saying that all the politicians can tell you what to do because it's their house, not yours, and you are without house.
So it is
all in the language.
Yeah, it is. It's funny. Now, with the amount of laws that are brought into power, would it be a fair statement to say that it would be impossible for everybody to know them? And therefore, it's unfair for the average person to be expected to abide by them. Could this be classed as unlawful?
Well, it's contractual. So here's the problem. If I explain to you what's going on. Let's say you go and work for a corporation, let's say McDonald's.
Yeah.
Now, I'm pretty sure McDonald's has a great big fat book full of all the policies and everything that you are bound to follow. Now, does the average McDonald's employee, has he studied that book? Has he memorized it? I doubt it. Mm-hmm. Is he obligated to follow it? Yes, he is, because he's actually signed the contract. So this is why they all turn around and say, not knowing the law is no excuse. Because it was you who decided to accept the contract and take on all the legislation, you see. So you need to flip the script. So instead of going down that road, you should say, well, hang on a minute. I need to see the contract where I have agreed that any of this legislation, in fact, applies to me.
Yeah.
That's much more simple because you don't have to get caught up in the weeds. See, a lot of people, unfortunately, they lose the game because they end up getting into legal disputes. If you get into a legal dispute, this is why the solicitors, you can't trust solicitors, barristers, or anything like that, because those people are on the side of the court, and they will take on the assumption, they will assume that you have already accepted the obligation of the thing that you are charged. That's the position they were in. So they will then do a legal argument for you, which is basically negotiating over the contract. So you've already lost. So instead of doing that, you say, well, I'm not getting into a legal argument here. And I don't. With my paperwork, I don't get into legal arguments at all. All I do is say, I need to see the contract. I need to see the obligation that I agreed.
Yeah.
It's so simple when you think about it.
Mm-hmm.
All of it, everything that the government is saying you've got to do, all you've got to do is, where's the contract? Oh, that's it. You know, ULEZ, where's the contract? Council tax, where's the contract? Income tax, where's the contract? If people could just do that en masse, like we were talking about earlier, but as an individual, and just said, where's the contract? Where's the contract that I signed giving these politicians authority over me?
Yeah.
I don't remember signing it. Do you remember signing it? Don't think so.
Yeah.
That's how simple it is.
And like we said earlier, you know, the power of the pen being able to hold local MPs accountable, and what we talked about people doing then. But within that, can the power of recall petitions remove members of parliament under the Recall Act of 2015 in towns around the UK? So if you're not happy with the person who is representing you, and it's a majority thing within the area, can you use recall petitions to remove them?
You can, but that puts you in a very, very dangerous position. Because what have you just done? You've accepted
back into petitions again, effectively.
Exactly. Exactly. So you see how do you see how this legal system is full of traps?
Yeah.
See? Now, if you absolutely know what you're doing, yeah, but for the layperson, I think if they went down that road, they'll end up in a serious problem because you see, if you the way this works, if you the government doesn't exist, it's a legal fiction corporation. Government, how tall is government? What's this government? What does he look like? Doesn't exist. But if you fight against government, you're giving it power. You're legitimizing it. And this is the trap of the system because people are fighting against something that doesn't exist. You're fighting against a ghost. So instead of doing that, you say, do you even exist? Who are you? Mr. It's like the council. When people say, have you paid the council tax? I go, what council tax? I have no idea what you're on about. And they go, your local council. What local council? I don't have a local council. I have no knowledge of any contract. Mm-hmm. So when people talk about government, people should be going, what government? What? Don't know. You're talking alien to me. I don't know what you mean, government. I didn't sign a contract. I just see it as commerce and business. All of it. That's all. And that's how I treat it. So you are correct using that petition. But like we spoke about earlier, if you sign the petition, you're accepting the obligation.
Yeah.
And of course, when you sign a petition, you've accepted a position within the contract, haven't you?
Yeah.
Which means if you're going to sign the position, you're going to accept citizen. So you're now signing as a British citizen with no rights. So I'm not a British citizen. No, not me. Don't know what you mean. So that's the problem.
Yeah, what I wanted to ask you as well. Now, if most people will go online, they'll look up and try and find out how many court cases are won each year by sovereign citizens in the UK and around the world, it's going to tell us that nobody ever wins them. Now, is this again a very clever play of wording? Because would it be that the majority of the cases that we consider to be won by sovereign citizens challenging the system, the fact that these are never ruled upon, and at the point that the court system realizes it is not going to win the case, it would then dismiss it. So are we talking most likely the majority of things that make it to court just being dismissed cases, but never clearly being ruled against as a case that is won by the opposition against the authority that's trying to wield its power?
Yeah. Right. So if you go in as a sovereign citizen, you've already lost. There's nothing you're going to do. Because remember, sovereign citizen is a label.
Yes. And
it's also an oxymoron because you can't be both. You can't be sovereign and a citizen. Mm-hmm. Sovereign means superior reign. That's what sovereign means, the actual word itself. So if you've got superior reign, then there's no authority over you. Citizen, lowest of the low, slave to the city. You are really low down on the pecking order. Police are above you. MPs are above you. Mayors are above you because you're a citizen, you're lowest of the low. So you can't be both. You can't be sovereign citizen. So the way they do it is if someone is stupid enough to go in there and say, I'm a sovereign citizen, I'm operating under common law and all this sort of stuff, then the judge is going to rule against you, you've lost. And
Yeah.
then the mainstream media will pump out a story saying, sovereign citizen fails again in court. And the
Yes.
average, do you see how it works? The average person goes, oh, that sovereign idea don't work.
Yeah.
Now, in truth, what goes on, if you really know what you're doing, the government don't want you in court. So they don't touch you. They'll try and get you on something else, but they will prefer to settle out of court. They don't want it going to court.
Because it
No,
sets legal precedent and becomes case
it
law.
does. Absolutely correct. So they won't let it go to court. But that said, because there's so many people now challenging the legal system, it's causing cracks in the legal system. I mean, there's I know a lot because obviously in the circle, my friends now, I know so many people that are challenging courts, both in Ireland and in the UK. And they're exposing all the fraud, all the deception.
Yeah.
So, and what we do in the Sovereign Project is just share this information. So it's like council tax. There's got to be over 1 million plus people now challenging council tax. The courts can't cope.
Good.
They can't cope. It's like TV license. 5 million people don't pay it no more. So they're done. So TV license is no longer an issue anymore. People are challenging speeding tickets, parking tickets. They're challenging debt collectors. I heard a story where debt collectors are now struggling to make money. They're collapsing. They're on too much debt.
Yeah.
So what it is individuals standing in their own power, asking questions like we were discussing, putting pressure on the legal system. So it's death by 1,000 cuts. So it's each of us using our pen and stabbing at the system with our paperwork. That's it.
Yeah.
And then it's going to crumble. So it's not like one person's going to, swim in and destroy the system. That's not going to happen. It's going to be all of us doing our little bit, sharing this information, putting pen to paper, challenging councils, challenging the police, challenging the courts, and eventually it's going to crash and it's done. It's going to collapse.
And hence the saying, the pen is mightier than the sword.
That's right, mate.
Yeah, definitely.
It always is.
So would people, obviously, I know people are busy. I know time is a very thin commodity to many people these days because of what we have to do to try and keep going. But if they can, would people be better, firstly, knowing the full extent of what can and can't be done within the existing law, especially the likes of legalese, a language of law that's changing the meaning of what we know certain words to mean? If people educated themselves in what the can and can't be done as well as the legalese, and I'm not saying people need to go out and get a law degree here, but
no.
buy yourself a Black's Law dictionary, dip your toe in the water, have fun with it. I've been having fun with it for years, and it's saved me several times. But if people did do that, would this put them on a level where they would see what was coming towards them and could say, no, you don't have the right to do this?
Exactly right. Now, a lot of people say they're busy. We're all busy. But I would say to the average person, if you've got problems in your life, you make the time to solve the problems. So when people come to me with their problems and I say, well, do you have any time to solve it? And they say, oh, well, I've got no time to solve it. Then I go, why do you think I have then? Why do you think I've got time to solve your problems if you don't have time to solve your problems? And another thing, a lot of people say they don't have the time when in fact they do. Because I'll ask them, I'll say, did you go on holiday? Oh, yes. Okay, so you went on holiday. Did you go down the pub for a drink? Yeah, you went on. Okay, so you did that. Do you watch TV? Oh, yeah, I watch Coronation Street. Yeah, okay. Do you watch football? Yeah. Do you play Xbox? Oh, yeah, I play Xbox. And then I'll say to them, you need to learn this. I've got no time.
Yeah.
They're not being honest, are they?
Discipline, it's self-discipline.
It is discipline.
Yeah.
So I say to everybody, if you are genuine and you want to save yourself from what's coming, put aside one evening a week. So you get home from work, the TV is not going on, the Xbox is not going on, you're not going down the pub, and I'm going to take that evening and I'm going to learn this stuff. Now, I'm not trying to sell online courses, but we do online courses.
Yeah.
We've got workshops all over the country that you can go to. and then they will help you and learn, and so you can learn this stuff. We've got free downloads. You've got books. Here you go. Read it. Get a book. So when you're on lunch break and you're having your lunch at work, you go, oh, I'm just going to read a chapter a day.
Yeah.
So when people say, "Oh, I've got no time," you got time. You got time. So the people who say they've got no time are going to lose. And what's going to happen is they will lose everything. Like what we were talking about earlier. They'll lose their bank accounts. They'll lose their businesses. They'll be starving to death.
Yes.
And they'll knock on my front door when I'm taking him to my steak and say, "Oh, can't I come in and have some of your food?" And guess what I'm going to say? No.
We told you.
I told you. We've got to be tough.
Yeah.
You know, if I see people really trying at this, really trying to learn this, I'll be very patient with them and I will help them every inch of the way, because I know some of this is mind bending.
Yeah.
But I will help them. But if anyone's going, "Oh, I ain't got time," I'm done. I'm not even going to get into a conversation with you because you're not worth my time.
Yeah.
So people have got to be responsible for their own lives. Like I was talking about earlier, a man makes time because he's a problem solver, isn't he? As a man, he's a problem solver. So when a problem happens in your life as a man, you make the time to solve the problem.
Yeah.
I've always lived my life that way.
Absolutely. I'm going to ask about the book that you've got there called The System. What is that? Where's that available from? And
well, we've got this one. This is my first book, System: Death by a Thousand Cuts.
Yeah.
I published that in 2017. That's a rundown of basically the system. It covers all sorts of stuff: fractional reserve banking, what money is, that sort of stuff.
So all the good stuff.
All the good stuff. Now, Enchiridium to Freedom. This one is if you want to learn how to get your paperwork in order. So notices, how to protect your signature, how to do affidavits, the lien process. It's all in here. Nice, easy to read English. It's not difficult. And then we've got this one, which is called Delving Deeper into the Abyss. This one goes deep. This will explain to you all the traps of the system, like societies, communities, all the language. It will show you how the courts work, how to handle yourself in court, whole load of stuff like that. So they can be found on my website, which is thesovereignproject.live.
Excellent. That's great. Now, one thing I want to wrap up with today, which has been one of my favorite things to play with over the years, because I love it when somebody thinks they've got a little bit of power and they're going to wield it, because unfortunately, sometimes they come against people like us and they find out that we're going to tell them exactly what it is. I want to just ask about bylaws, because the amount of times people have tried to enforce bylaws upon me, and I've said, just hold on one moment. And I've gone to the contract side of things, but I've explained to them the power of bylaws and what that actually has. Can you let people know what bylaws are and how they are enforceable or not, for that matter?
Well, they're not enforceable. Right, you've asked me a question that's going to take a lot to explain. So the way, this works, it all works to, let's start with the basics. Do we all know what you got a country, you've got a county, you've got a borough. All these things are jurisdictions. Now, to determine the jurisdiction, you normally need to know what house is in charge of the jurisdiction. Now, if you look at you might see it on a sign, a street sign. So you'll see a street sign on the road. Oh, okay. We've got to back up. We've got to discuss the difference between a street name and a street title.
Mm-hmm.
So we understand what's going on here.
Yeah.
So a street name is normally named either after the person who built the road, or the road itself led to a meadow, so Meadow Lane, for example, or a church street. So it got its name from something based in reality, like a church, a meadow, or someone actually built it, like Frederick Street. That means Frederick built the street. So that's the name. Now, you've also got a street title. This is how council tax and councils intertwine. It looks exactly the same, but it's a title that's in their jurisdiction. Now, when you look at a street title, you'll see a coat of arms. So every now and again, you'll see a coat of arms. That is telling you the jurisdiction of the house that's in charge of the borough. So this is where the bylaws originally came from. So if someone says, oh, well, there's this bylaw and you've got to follow it, you could turn around and say, well, hang on a minute, you've got to prove that I'm operating under the house of something family, whatever it is. So you can look up the houses. I can't remember the name of the website now, but if you want to know who's in charge of the borough that you're operating within,
yeah,
you can look this up. In fact, if you look at the councils, just about every single council will have a coat of arms.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So that is
whatever borough council it is. Yeah.
whatever borough council it is. But that is a family that runs it. So the family is making the bylaws within that particular borough. So it only applies to you if you accept the authority of the house. And I go, well, prove it. And they can't. So I said, it doesn't apply to me.
Yes. No.
So hopefully that was a very simplistic way of me trying to explain how it works, but it's a bit more.
No, I know it's more complicated, but
Yes.
at the end of the day, people realize and get the basic outline of the world that we live in, including not only bylaws, council tax, the ability to not comply to certain things and legally stand in your own power.
Yes.
I hope it encourages people to go out there and look into these things. And as you say, you know, the whole sovereign movement, the whole common law movement is, in the eyes of the majority of people, it looks like it's failing. But in reality, when you understand how it works and how not to label yourself, that is the key thing, because all of a sudden you are standing as a man,
yes,
in your own power and under only the God-given, inalienable rights that you have to stand within that power as well.
That's right. In your dominion. So you are man in my dominion. That's why I've got freedom. I don't have liberty, because remember, liberty is privileges and allowances granted to you from a higher authority. I don't deal in that.
Well, I tell you what, Pete, that's going to give people a lot to look at, a lot to think about. And I hope people actually take the ball here and run with it. I hope people, as you say, put an evening aside once a week and sit down with the family and say, we're going to understand this world we live in a far greater detail, and empower themselves to move forward and know what can and can't be taken from them. Because this is the whole game. It's all about taking your money off you, taking your privacy from you, taking anything that you have being sovereign and removing that from you and having you stand under their authority. And anything that opens up the ability for people to realize that that is not the case may be the turning tide that stops this next stages of digital enslavement, with not only the digital ID, but also the digital currency, and certainly the games that we've discussed today that are coming into play, that is going to be the greatest wealth transfer in known history.
It is.
Pete, it's been fantastic to have you on. Is there anything you want to leave us with before we finish?
Nice one. Yeah, I'll just add one more thing. I know I've plugged my books, but just to let everybody know, I'm not trying to sell books. You can actually download the chapters for free off my website. So if you are really hard up and you can't afford 20 quid for a book, download the chapters for free. And I just want to add as well, we've now launched the Sovereign Project app. So what this is an app where you can record a government employee, like a policeman or debt collector, or whoever like that, and a script will come on the screen where you will ask a series of questions. Like the policeman, it'll be, are you under your oath? What's your ID? That sort of stuff. Wow. So we got one for the TV license, man. You're going to have so much fun with this app, because you're going to switch it on and you're going to ask these questions and they're going to panic.
That's cool.
It's so
fun. It really is cool.
So you're going to have this app. And the script comes up, and the beauty of it is it records it, and you can use that video evidence, because if the policeman or the TV license or whatever incriminates themselves, you've now got evidence, so you can now sue them.
That's fantastic. And how do people get hold of the app?
Yeah, the app is on the website, so it can only be done through the website. We can't do it on Apple Pay or anything like that. The reason being is we can't do it in the Google one and we can't do it in the Apple one because
There's contract.
Apple. Exactly right. Yeah, yeah. It was. I wasn't going to do it. I could have
Yeah,
made a ton of money on this app and agreed, and then they would have slid in their software and it would have tracked your phone and all of it. And says, I'm not doing that.
yeah.
So you can get it from the website. It is a subscription. It's £20 a year, and we will update it over the year, and you'll get more and more scripts, and you're going to have so much fun with these scripts.
It'll pay for itself within the first conversation you have.
It will.
Yeah.
And as more and more people start using it, if say the policeman comes up to you, you go 1 minute, I'm just going to start my sovereign project app. The policeman's going to go, oh, I'm done. Bye bye. You won't even want to get involved.
Especially when word gets around of what this is providing for people. Yeah, it's like diplomatic immunity.
It is. Going to have so much fun.
Oh, well, anyway,
Don't
Pete,
live in fear.
thank you so much again. As we always say here on the Atlantic Underground podcast, believe nothing and question everything. And I don't think this is going to be the last time we speak. And look forward to probing that mind of yours further in the future to try and get the answers that people really need out there. Thanks so much, mate. And you
Cheers,
take
mate. Good fun.
Cheers, dude.